finally we know. 8:53 is the time.
We've been enjoying a bird's eye view of a field outside Gainsborough in Lincolnshire this morning. We really have actually been enjoying it. It's all part of a tribute to our NHS workers. Yes,
Lakshmi Gopal is there to tell us a little more. So, so you're gonna do the reveal for us, because we look at you there.
In Lincolnshire, an enjoyable thing as tribute to our NHS workers, which of course we've been celebrating, especially over the last few months.
That's it from Breakfast today.
Back tomorrow at 6. Do have a lovely week. Bye-bye. Nice. Stay safe. That is the message, isn't it?
It is. It is well worth repeating.
And there's a difficult balance today, because obviously there are people who are really looking forward to going out and, you know, having that social life again. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the fact is the pandemic is still here. So we have to be mindful of it. Charlie, I don't know if... Are you a roller coaster man?
No.
Theme parks and farms are going to be welcoming visitors for the first time in months.
Breakfast John Maguire is at Thorpe Park, very famous amusement park. What's tickling you, John?
That's tickled you, hasn't it, John? I mean...
Missing act today, aren't we? Because alongside every opening of very different premises, there is a word of caution. Some people, frankly, will be looking at where you are today and thinking there is no way I'm going to go to an amusement park. Others will be thinking, absolutely, but I want to know what precautions are in place.
Fun. And you're doing it again in the next hour, so anyone who missed it, get it.
Different one. Different one next hour, I
think. John, thanks very much. It's interesting, isn't it? It's lovely seeing a bit of normal in a way, isn't it? A few images we're showing this morning. It's like Ben who's in a pub, and there's a little bit of normal. And alongside all of that, of course, we are emphasising this morning those people who are less content with, you know, the speed at which things are opening up, and those questions we're asking as well.
School. Let's talk.
Good morning. First, our main story. Hamas has said it doesn't know the whereabouts of an Israeli soldier it's been accused of capturing in Gaza. The group said Hadar Golden may have been killed during fighting.
Palestinian officials in Gaza say that more than 90 people have been killed since a 3-day ceasefire collapsed within hours yesterday. Janine Machin has more. To our viewers, we're having some technical difficulties there. We'll try to bring you that report later in the programme.
Let's move on to other stories. We'll be talking more about that a little later on this morning. And as soon as we get the sound issues sorted out, we will, of course, bring you that story.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Naga, Munchetty and Charlie State.
Good morning to you. It is 7:32. The violent protests in the United States have been condemned by leaders around the world. In a tweet, Boris Johnson described the clashes as disgraceful and called for a peaceful and orderly transfer of power to President-elect Joe Biden.
We can speak now to the Home Secretary.
The scheme offering government-backed loans to companies struggling during the pandemic is being expanded and some of its rules being relaxed.
So it was, again, 8 o'clock last night. It was one of those moments, wasn't it? And I think everyone is enjoying, not least because they're sending their praise, but also it makes people feel better. You know, there's a general feeling of there's a warm feeling around all of that stuff, which is just good.
Yeah, and knowing also how touched so many NHS workers and carers and key workers were just being recognised for what they may think is just their everyday jobs, but are just so important. So just seeing that gratitude from everyone else.
Played out in individual households in different ways as well, which we will well illustrate now with Lynn Lake, who's a nurse in North Wales. Her family greets her with applause as she returns home at the end of each shift. It's a point really well made about people thinking more about that. Are the routine jobs now that are becoming really, really sort of vital, and a link between people. The delivery driver just has a little chat when they drop the stuff off.
When I go on my run, I say hi to delivery drivers and say thank you. I went to the supermarket and I just asked the guy, and I think, you know, when they're quite stressed, it's quite stressful 2 in, 2 out. People get a bit grumpy about it, and so by the time they get to the till, they're kind of a bit harassed. And I spoke to one guy at the till. I said, "How you doing?" You know, people being nice. He said, "I only had one not nice comment the whole last 3 days."
Good.
Which is great. So keep being kind and lovely and positive to those who are working for us. I try to do that to Matt. It doesn't often work, but I try.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
Looks remarkably well on 4 hours, 5 hours sleep.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, we don't look that good. Never. It is just gone 20 minutes to 7. Good morning to you. Mike, good morning. Interesting, wasn't it, yesterday? I'm sure you're going to be covering this. Matt Hancock not shying away from the question.
Stefan Cordery, who's from NHS Providers, and Derek Gatherer, virologist, Lancaster University. Thank you both very much for your time this morning.
Important for us to try to get as much clarity to you about the information that's being disseminated from the government, from the medical industry and anything else you might be hearing. So that's our job and that's what we're trying to do.
So let's take a moment at 7:23 to have a chat with Matt.
So you know what? What's great about that is all week and over the coming weeks, we're just going to be celebrating those people who often behind the scenes, who often have been ignored or not recognised, and now they're being recognised for just how important they are. So we're celebrating. And from 8:30, we're going to pay tribute to all the key workers, from NHS staff, supermarket shelf stackers, posties, delivery drivers.
Yes, we're calling it Heroes Half Hour. You get the idea. And let us know who you want to thank. And it doesn't have to be a key worker. I think that's the point, isn't it? It could be someone who's just made your day by doing something small but significant, because that can make a difference.
It makes a difference being told thank you. We've seen that with the clapping for carers. And here's the cast of Holby City and Casualty saying thank you in their way. So some lovely messages there from the cast of Casualty and Holby City. Almost makes me feel that I should be nice to Matt. But I don't think that the measures in place at the moment have changed things that much.
So in that sense, it's not that different. What's changed for you?
Well, one thing is that...
all adapting, even children's stories, just having a little twist one way or another.
It helps them understand as well, because it can be confusing times with these different measures in place. So we're talking about those, what you could do when you're at home. We all are being encouraged to stay in as much as we can and work from home. But for key workers, including those in the NHS and the postal services, it's just not an option because it's being changed.
Yes, they are, of course, as Mike said, some of the most recognised children's characters in books. The Gruffalo and the Stickman back, but with an important message.
So we can talk to the author Julia Donaldson and illustrator Axel Scheffler, who've created some new stories to help us stay safe from coronavirus. Take a look. Get the weather with Matt, and it feels warm this morning. I tell you, he's enjoying some sunshine. Aren't you just so? Time now, 6:31. Good morning to you. People with coronavirus symptoms in England are expected to be told today they must isolate for longer under new guidance designed to stop this. Talk to one of our breakfast GPs, Dr. Farah Sheikh, who joins us from her home in Cheshire. Good morning to you, Doctor. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Good to hear. Listen, we've just done this, just been referring to this report that we might be expecting an announcement today on a change in the days that you have to self-isolate if you have symptoms. Are you clear about what the situation is now? Do you think it's clear?
SC time now is 6:37. Ready to go. Morning, Mike.
Morning. Mike, you've just got to use your imagination, haven't you? With the tools you've got, with what's around you. We've all done some creative things in our gardens and homes when it comes to fitness and keeping fit, haven't we?
Thanks for having me.
Very fascinating, isn't it? 6:53 the time.
Good morning to you. Now, in just under 1 month, the public is going to decide who to back in the general election. And during the campaign, we're inviting the leaders of all the main parties to appear here on the breakfast sofa for extended interviews. I'm delighted to say the first of them to come onto the sofa is the Prime Minister and Conservative Party. That the average increase in spending is going to be below what the Institute for Fiscal Studies says it needs to be. Yours is going to be 3.4%. The IFS says it needs to be 4%. You haven't increased since 2010.
And let me tell you,
why not?
Because
I don't want to talk to you. Family man, why are you relatable? Thank you. The Prime Minister very kindly said he'll take more questions from BBC viewers and listeners just after half an hour with the Prime Minister.
Tonight in a special programme on the BBC News Channel, Tim Peake lifts the lid on his time in space.
Here's what happened when I went to meet him. How does it feel to be back? Was it everything you hoped for?
It was everything and more, definitely.
Charming man, charming man. We had lots of time with him, and I know the last time we spoke to him, you said to me, Naga, you didn't ask him about aliens. Do you remember? So I was thinking of you, Charlie, all the time while I was interviewing Tim Peake. So I asked him about aliens and whether he actually ever saw one, perhaps peeked out looking for one when he was on the International Space Station.
Now, they sold millions of records, toured the world and dominated the charts during the 1980s as separate acts. Now, 30 years on, Nick Kershaw Pop duo Go West are joining forces and heading out on the road together.
I'm sure it's not been that long. They're going to collaborate on new versions of some of their classic hits, being helped by Along the Way by T'Pau's Carol Decker. Now, we've got Nick with it. Let's remind everyone, shall we, some of your songs.
Follows me around.
What was it exactly? It was kind of like...
It was just like it's a tube of material. No! I won't.
It all comes round, doesn't it? It all comes round again.
Did you like what we did there?
That was very clever. Yeah,
You know,
very good.
Bit of the old, bit
Almost
of the new.
as if time had stood still. It was just brilliant.
Any temptations, because I know you're going to be performing with the tour, any temptations to not play the classics?
Misleading, isn't it, really?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. And as I understand it, is it true that on other songs as well? So there's a bit of a mix and match.
We're trying to do that. I mean, it's not as if Go West are going to do a set, I'm going to do a set. We're going to be on stage together. We, swapping a few licks, doing each other's songs, performing songs together, just mixing it up, really.
I'm thinking, in my head, I'm hand, and it gets really, really high.
Yeah.
Have any of you attempted to do that, or are you just leaving
No, we're
it
going to
to
leave that
Carol
to
Decker?
Carol.
Yeah.
Absolutely leave that one to Carol.
Can she still belt it out?
Thank you to our four parents there for having a good chat and discussion about that. We're going to continue that with Rachel Fitzsimmons. So, these guidelines haven't been updated since the year 2000. Time for a change? Time for a revamp, do you think?
I think so, Dan. I think so much has changed.
That then influencing their view of members of the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever that might be.
Decides to do, there are going to be parents and certain groups which will object. You can't please everyone when it comes to this. But the fact is, whether the UK leaves the EU with or without a deal, this money is going to be spent. So therefore, this money is not no-deal planning. That's how the Conservative Party is pitching. Good morning, you're watching Breakfast with Sally Nugent and Naga Munchetty.
It is exactly 8:30. The energy regulator Ofgem has set out how it will help consumers get a better deal on their gas and electricity. The UK Border Force has a worryingly low number of boats patrolling British coasts, according to them.
Barack Obama has said that the Republican presidential candidate, Donald Trump, is unfit to lead the United States.
What's the betting? Do you think we'll see them?
It's looking unlikely, really. We're being told all the time. They're shy. They're going to take their time. You know when they'll come out? 17 minutes past 9.
Yeah, when the camera's switched off. I think so.
That's the way it is. That brings you up to date. Joanna Gosling's on the Victoria Derbyshire show on at 9 o'clock this morning on BBC Two. Let's find out what's in store.
Of getting ready for school.
I'm just waiting for the embarrassing photos, which you've managed to escape.
They lost mine.
They
That's all
lost
I'm
your
saying.
photo, but there are pictures of us in the 80s that are flying around.
And I think we should get people at home to send them in as well. Send us your embarrassing 1980s photos. I want big perms, shoulder pads, everything.
Is that what you had?
No, I wasn't allowed that, but I was a little bit young. A little bit young for that.
Hugh, did you have a perm in the 80s? We're getting ready. We've got the first games today. Sweden's women's football kicks off today, literally, ahead of the opening ceremony on Friday. But still lots of controversy about doping. Lizzie Armistead.
Yes, a bad story this morning. We don't want to be talking about these today.
Yeah,
Lots to look forward to with football. Yes, women's football, 10 to 5.
Now, from Starry Night to Sunflowers. Sunflowers, I think, is the most famous one, perhaps. Vincent van Gogh is often remembered for his influential artworks, but another mystery surrounds the painter.
Yeah, he cut off his own ear, and the art world has long struggled to work out why he did such a thing.
Yeah, teacher turned detective Bernadette Murphy immersed herself in his life to try and find out, and now the startling discoveries she's made have been turned into a documentary. Let's have a look.
It's a fascinating documentary. You've obviously loved it as well. And
I
thank you
really
for coming
enjoyed it,
in.
and Jeremy was adorable, and read the book as well.
I don't know how many times Jeremy Paxman has been described as adorable. But
adorable.
He was really very generous and very kind for somebody who's never done it before. I mean,
equally as dangerous. Carol, thanks very much.
Oh, I hope she's safe.
She's fine.
Sure, she's fine.
She's fine.
Now, apparently, shopping at the airport is going to get cheaper. After one chain said it's going to give back some of the VAT it claims from customers, Ben is here to explain all. Morning.
Yeah, it can all be those big Toblerones and all that stuff you buy.
Well, I wouldn't wish the name Naga on anything.
No, but they've got their parents. What was their mum and dad called?
Davidoff.
And
what's the mum's name, Holly? Davidoff's the dad.
Kristen. Very
Kristen
glamorous
and Davidoff.
names. Yeah, they need to be like Alexis
Fabulous
and
names.
something else.
Holly, I can confidently predict that it's not 17 minutes past 9. Those cubs are going to run up to that glass window and frolic around, wave, do everything. 17 minutes past 9, that's when it's going to happen. Thanks, Holly.
But they are cute.
They are very, very cute.
Now, controversial subject here, something that's all to do with morning routine. Something that is part of your morning routine, but definitely not
part of
mine.
yours. Or night routine. Some people say you should do it at night.
Yeah.
In case you're worried, we're talking about flossing. A leading British dentist has cast doubt on the value of it.
Yeah, Professor Damien Walmsley from Birmingham University says there is only weak evidence that it prevents gum disease and cavities. And researchers in America also say there is little reliable evidence that it actually works.
Still, most dentists tell us to do it as often as we can, daily. What is the best approach? Well, we've got Dr. Anne. We'll let the audience decide because they can watch it. Dominic, thank you so much. The 80s with Dominic Sandbrook is on BBC Two on Thursday at 9 p.m.
That is all from Breakfast this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
We will, but now on BBC One, the Country Files Summer Diaries team reports on new research that could make sunshine officially good for your health, in moderation, of course. And some top tips for summer eating, from ice cream to barbecues. Here's John Craven. Good morning, it's Thursday, July the 16th. Our top story is that Twitter has been the subject of a massive hack, targeting some of the biggest names in the United States, including prominent figures in business and politics, as well as celebrities.
The list includes Bill Gates, Kanye West, as well as Barack Obama and Joe Biden. As part of the scam, fake tweets were posted.
You know, like whether it's going to hit 3 million, you know, when the furlough scheme is going to end, if it's going to come to an abrupt stop, and how this is going to impact on employers. The fact is that many of us are going to be looking around, and many of our friends and family are going to be out of work. It's going to be much more immediate, isn't it? Police forces are limiting the number of blood samples they take from motorists and send for drug analysis because of costs and a lack of testing capacity. A sculpture of a Black Lives Matter protester erected in Bristol yesterday has been taken down.
Now, we could all probably use a day at the beach at the moment, but visitors to the coast of Rio de Janeiro had some surprise company this time now is 9 minutes past 6. So, a third town in Lancashire is being closely watched as cases
that Pendle, along with Blackburn and Darwin, could soon face local lockdown, similar to that we're seeing in Leicester, if the rate of infection isn't controlled. Graham Satchell has more. Got anything inside? I've got a couple of things. I was inspired by that seal earlier, and I love a picture of sea life. I just thought this was nice. If you're going to go diving,
Alien, isn't it? Do you remember that scene in the Alien? Remember that scene?
Yeah.
Not very comfortable, I don't think. Worth saying a little later on, we're going to be talking to England rugby coach Eddie Jones this morning. And there's a story here about, I mean, check out this story as well, which is apropos of nothing, really.
Oh, I saw this.
This is that Richard Osman. Let's see, time now is 10 minutes past 6.
When I left the house this morning, big wet snow. You know, I was talking about types of snow with Carol yesterday. I just thought I'd say. I mean, it's a past weather forecast, so I'm not even sure how it's useful. It's not even a forecast. It's like a, I don't know. What is it, Matt? What is it? What am I talking about? Morning. Fat, wet snow.
Good snow for making...
On the cars, but not settling on the floor. It's that wet, you know, that just wet.
Yes. You could still get it.
First, look, Matt, we're going to look at the papers in just a second. I don't know if anyone can see this, and I don't know if these stories, looking at stuff like this, and look, I'm looking at your face. I'm seeing your face. Tell me.
I can tell you one.
That say, oh yeah, hot as shit, cold as shit. This winter could be our coldest. Can you predict it?
Matt he just tells it how it is. He tells it how it is.
Face.
That's all it is.
It's the slightly pursed lips. Thanks, Matt.
We'll have a look at some of the front pages now for you. Take a look at the weather this morning. Matt, there has been snow up here in the northwest, and I'm seeing, what's that? Where are we in your picture there?
Sorry, I just want to interrupt, Charlie. I just want to interrupt because you did tell Mike how wonderful he looked and healthy he looked. And do you not think you should give the same love to Matthew?
Do you know we've got what is it? 2 hours and 50 minutes left of the programme this morning. There's plenty of time for Matt to get a compliment as well. Let's not rush things.
Okay.
You want to do it all at once.
Thanks. Thank you. Dry January has been growing in popularity. Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast Now. Where do you think the best spot is to find an 18th century wig curler, children's shoes from the Tudor period, and, if you fancy, a glass eye?
Well, Laura Maitland found all of these items and many more in the River Thames. She's a mudlarker and has spent over 15 years unearthing historical treasures from mud banks, and Laura has written a book and joins us. Mudlarking, the clues in the title, the river drops a little and you get out there and just look for stuff.
Away at it and reclaiming the foreshore, and so every time the river drops you find something different.
The rules about finders keepers. I mean, you know, if you find something that is clearly valuable, do you have to
give it a big bash,
Don't they?
Complete ones.
To ask as well, presumably, as you're looking for things, do you find we do so many environmental stories? You find
What we're leaving behind, plastic and wet.
Well, it's fascinating what you find, and if you're interested as well, because you also found I can't go into it because we're out of time. Much, and you can find out in Lara's book, Mudlarking, Lost and Found on the River Thames.
That's all from us today. Programme back on tomorrow at 6 a.m.
Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
In the last few minutes, it's been confirmed by President Trump. He has tweeted to say that he and his wife have tested positive for coronavirus. This just in the last 10 minutes. US President Donald Trump and the First Lady saying we will begin our quarantine and recovery process.
Over the last hour. Thanks very much, Peter Bowes there. We'll continue the conversation, of course, throughout the morning. We'll be talking to political reporter from the Hill in the United States in a few minutes.
This morning, the President tweeted saying tonight the First Lady and I
him to the televised debate in Ohio earlier this week. So shortly before he got the result, the President had spoken to Fox News in the United States. Here's what he had to say. Isolation and recovery immediately. And he said on Twitter that we will get through this together. And the Good morning. You are watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Time is 7:31. Our main story this morning. Donald Trump and his wife, Melania, have both been infected with coronavirus.
As of now, we understand from the White House doctor that both Melania Trump and President Trump are well. One of the points that was brought up with Eric Ham there, the political analyst that Charlie was talking to, was President Trump's age, 74 years old. How significant is that? And the fact that he is, as Eric Ham said, technically obese. How will that play out into how he reacts to the coronavirus? Good morning. You are watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Time is 7:31. Our main story this morning. Donald Trump and his wife, Melania, have both been infected with coronavirus.
As of now, we understand from the White House doctor that both Melania Trump and President Trump are well. For me, and this is the best lockdown life that I've ever seen because it is so real and it's brilliant.
There you go. In amongst the chaos, you can make it work. It's lovely to see you there. Thank you, Helen.
Helen, I thought you were amazing as a double Olympian, but that is how to bring a smile to anyone who is just trying to cope this morning.
And I love the fact that it kind of started quite calm, and I was thinking, that's a very calm house.
This is going to work. No, it doesn't. But give it a go. Why not? Headlines are coming up. Have Willow Bow there in your arms. Is that correct? Is that the right child?
Yes, yeah, well, we're calling her Bo. Yeah,
OK.
Yeah.
It's all going swimmingly.
It's all exercise that you'd probably do in the gym anyway. Right.
Oh, here's another one. Who's this?
It's all exercise that you'd probably do in the gym anyway. Right.
Oh, here's another one. Who's this? It's all going swimmingly.
It's all exercise that you'd probably do in the gym anyway. Right.
Oh, here's another one. Who's this?
Later, or you might be, but is that him in the background kind of doing the camera work? All that we've done all day for me, and this is the best lockdown life that I've ever seen because it is so real and it's time now is 23 minutes to 9. Good morning. Now, 1 year ago, Whaley Bridge became the centre of national attention. This is when a dam at the local reservoir cracked. 20 minutes to 9 is the time. Might not have happened a while ago. We thought Grand Prix racing is back. Morning, Mike.
Very exciting, Mike. Thank you very much. Look forward to that across the weekend.
The 15th series of Celebrity MasterChef ended last night. If you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, you may perhaps want to go make a cup of tea. We're going to talk about and to the winner soon.
So, we'll hold that for a second. You've got a moment, but right now we'll look at the highlights from the final. There you go. He's got his head in his hands as the broadcaster, Riyad Khalaf. Champions, that can't be bad. That's not a bad feeling, is it?
It's unbelievable. I'm still shaking, guys. It's just...
Keep it secret, so well done. And I mean, having seen a couple of I haven't actually seen the final myself, but I know from earlier on, you really loved this process, didn't you? You kind of threw yourself into it with real gusto.
I'll tell you what you did bring to it as well, and I think this is always really interesting when you look at cookery programmes, especially now, is something different, and that's largely due to your heritage, to the mix.
There's that moment. So you place the dish in front of them,
No, say it as it is. But although it was competitive, of course, it has to be. It's a competition. You made friends and you did support each other as well. Who was your go-to buddy out of the gang?
Meron here, fantastic, and it was good fun. You were great fun to watch as well. So, and thanks for getting up early for us. Nice to see you.
Thank you, guys. Chat to you soon.
Take care, Riyadh. Bye-bye. Riyadh Khalaf, their winner of MasterChef. 9 minutes to 9 is the time. Let's talk about something that's been the foundation of thousands of Christmas wish lists. Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Charlie States and Naga Munchetty.
Our headlines today. It's Friday, the 28th of September. Good morning. Our top story, powerful, honest and riveting. That was Donald Trump's assessment on Twitter of the testimony of his nominee for the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh, who's accused of sexual assault.
Yesterday, Professor Christine Blasey Ford gave dramatic details of the alleged attack. She said happened 36 years ago. Our Washington correspondent Chris Buckler watched. Let's talk about buying a new house. And you may assume that freehold, meaning you own the building and the land it is on outright, is yours. But for many new homes in new modern developments, that isn't the case.
Yeah, many new builds are leasehold, which means that you only own the property for a fixed period of time. And of course, that can cause expensive, unexpected problems legally, structurally, as time goes on.
The man to talk to about this is you buy a new house. I was always under the impression that when you bought a flat, that's when the leasehold came into account. But this is now happening with new build homes to do about it. That's at midday on Radio 4. This is Breakfast with John Kay and Naga Munchetty.
Decision day. The polls have just opened for the historic referendum on Britain's membership of the European... Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, the 23rd of June.
Also on the programme.
A stormy start for lots of places this morning. Carol has...
So voters are going to the polls today in the referendum to decide whether the UK remains part of the European Union.
Yeah, the Electoral Commission suggests that a record number of voters are eligible to take part, with more than 46 million people registered.
Now, our political correspondent... Morning, Carol.
Morning.
Now, we are quite restricted on what we can and can't talk about today, but we can tell people what is going on in terms of the process, can't we? Thanks very much. We've got a busy 24 to 36 hours now. You can, of course, catch live EU referendum coverage. It's going to be presented from Elstree by David Dimbleby, Emily Maitlis, Jeremy Vine on BBC One from just before 10 o'clock. Coverage continues throughout the night until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Let's look at some other news this morning, shall we? And a group of politicians has been staging a sit-in in protest in the US Congress over gun control. It's refusing to budge until they get a vote on the issue.
It follows last week's shooting at an Orlando nightclub in which 49 people died. Our Washington correspondent Laura Bicker reports.
Researchers say fears over the Zika virus have led to a huge increase in the number of women wanting abortions in Latin America. An independent inquiry has been announced into an allegation that live fox cubs were taken into the kennels of one hunt to train its hounds to kill them.
Covert footage passed to the BBC shows the foxes being carried into the South Herefordshire Hunt kennels. Afterwards, their dead bodies were dumped in a bin. Here's more from our Home Affairs correspondent, Tom Simons. And we should warn you that some people may find this report.
Good news. It's 12 minutes past 7.
Now, the presidential hopeful Donald Trump will touch down in Scotland tomorrow to reopen his £200 million golf resort.
Yeah, police and security teams in Ayrshire are preparing for protests against the billionaire's trip, though, which comes after more than 500,000 people signed an online petition calling for him to be banned from the UK.
Our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon is at the Turnberry course, and we can talk to her now. Lorna, beautiful, obviously, morning there now, but lots of controversy making this quite an ugly atmosphere for many.
That caused quite a mess, Naga. It's 22 minutes past 7. Now, doctors, politicians and celebrity campaigners have all had their say on how to tackle childhood obesity in recent years. Now, a new project has come up with another idea, asking children themselves.
Now, before we hear the thoughts of some of those who took part, let's remind ourselves of the scale of this problem.
Let's talk to you guys first, shall we? Because you've been included for the first time. Jacob, tell me, what sort of ideas have you come up with about how to tackle this issue?
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with John Kay and Naga Munchetty.
The time just after 7:30. Good morning. Our main story is that polls have opened in the historic referendum on whether the UK should remain a member of the European Union or
EU referendum coverage is going to be presented from Elstree by David Dimbleby, Emily Maitlis and Jeremy Vine. Our colleagues will be on BBC One from just before 10 o'clock and they'll continue all through the night until 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow.
In other news, a group of politicians has been staging a sit-in in protest in the US Congress over gun control. They're refusing to budge until...
An independent inquiry has been announced into an allegation that live fox cubs were taken into the kennels of one hunt to train its hounds to kill them.
Carol will have the weather for us in a few minutes' time, and lots of you getting in touch this morning saying there have been some horrible storms and thunder and lightning in some place, especially in the southeast of England. So Carol will have all the latest on that.
Do you know whose fault we've got that?
Thought you're blaming someone.
I'm blaming Sally.
Oh, yeah.
Because they get it in France and in Europe, and then they send it over here, and that's what Sally gets left with. Look behind you, Sally, all that beautiful blue sky. Air guitar world championship. No, because I think an hour ago when you tried to do it, we didn't give you some space, and we didn't give you some music, you know, and
maybe 10:05.
10:05. Go on, just give us a little bit. Go on. No. We'll get him to do it at some point. It's good. You are up to date. It is 7:11. We're talking about the Eurozone now because there are going to be tough questions on the agenda when the Greek Prime Minister meets the French President later. The Greek Prime Minister is going to try to persuade Eurozone leaders that Athens needs more time to implement tough spending cuts.
However, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel has maintained her stance that Greece has to stick to its painful reforms. So where does that leave the country's finances? Well, joining us now is Dr. John Whittaker. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. This is dragging on and on and on, isn't it? I mean, are we any closer to a resolution to this, or the Greeks just continually going to be needing extra time?
Well, quite sympathetic, I think, to Antonis Samaras at the moment because, yes, he's asking for more time. Yes, a deal has been brokered and he needs to stick to it. But what he faces at home, you know, when we see pictures of the country looking run down, we see people struggling, you know, employment's at a low. He's battling his opposition at his back as well. You remember the guys who... The Germans and the French leaders, they need to be more sympathetic, surely.
You can kind of, in a way, see who are trying to hold this all together.
Yes, of course you can.
Still, that one of these countries, whether it's Greece or Italy or Spain or whoever, may yet default and the whole thing may come crashing down, or is it shored up a little more than it was a few months ago?
Get an end, and that would be terrible for them.
It's very easy for us to sit here and talk about what's going on over there, but surely there is an impact here in the UK.
Yeah, now, it would be dreadful, but maybe that's the best way to go.
OK, food for thought. John Whittaker, thank you very much for going through all of that with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. It's just nudged past 7:15. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. Here are the morning's main stories. Also coming up in the programme.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty. We're coming to you from our Commonwealth Games studio. We're on the banks of the Clyde.
Time now, 7:31. Team Scotland have had a great start to the Commonwealth Games, winning 4 golds on the first day of the competition. We'll have all the main stories for you in just a moment. First, very good morning to you from the banks of the Clyde on a glorious day here in Glasgow.
Some stunning views from our special studio here at the Commonwealth Games. So far, we've had lots of sunshine, we've had lots of tears. It's been a sensational start for the host nation. On the first day of the competition, Scotland took 4 golds in just 3 hours, as Chris McLaughlin reports.
Time now is 8:23. Of course, we'll have more on the sport from the Commonwealth Games coming up a little later in the programme.
First, though, more than 800 people have died in the latest outbreak of violence in the Middle East, and despite calls for a ceasefire, fighting continues.
This week on Breakfast, we're hearing from families on both sides of the conflict who are trying to live their lives under siege.
Yesterday, the Khatib family in Gaza told us their story. Today, we can hear from the Schusters, an Israeli family which lives about a mile from the border. Our World Affairs correspondent Bethany Bell went to meet them.
It's having a laugh there. Now, the funny thing is, I've seen that clip quite a few times this morning, obviously. At first, you think he looks very different because of the beard. Actually,
you see him.
You still see him. He's not so very different behind the beard.
He still looks a bit different. Oh. Time now, 8:34. We're going to be speaking to the judo gold medal winners, Ashley McKenzie and Colin Oates. That's just before 9 o'clock. First, though, it's time to get over to Mike. There's been lots of action yesterday, and there's already been more, including our very own Louise.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that? We're going to ask you a question now.
Oh, it is. Derek and Ella.
Oh, it's got to be basically the rollers.
You're absolutely.
I hadn't really thought about the question. Piece of music for that's how you do it, isn't it? Listen to this piece of music, and we'll ask you a question. You probably asked that question yourself, haven't you? Both done it a million times.
So, what do you think is the leg?
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Lovely to be here. Lovely to see you.
Ken is live in Glasgow on BBC Two from 9:30 in 45 minutes. Plus, you can listen to that special concert. There is one Friday night is music night, and that's at 8 o'clock on Radio 2.
Let's have a look at the weather now. Carol's right here with us in the studio in Glasgow. Morning, Carol. Good. Welcome back to Glasgow now. The sun is shining on us once again. Of course, lots of gold medals won yesterday. More to come today.
We have with us Ashley Mackenzie and Colin Oates, who won last night, late in the evening. Well, 7:30 yesterday. I think they're a bit sore, they've said.
Yes.
Congratulations. How are you feeling?
I feel good. Like I said to many people, I just feel like I've been out all night, and I've got lucky with gold medal. So
I think some hard work was involved.
No,
as well.
definitely, 100%.
Colin, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Like you said earlier, we're a bit sore this morning, but when you come away with a gold medal, you can't really be disappointed. So we came with a job yesterday to take the gold medals. We were probably favourites in our weight category, so we had to deliver.
Now, you both confessed a moment ago you have watched back your fights, but let's have another look now. Let's see. It's fascinating watching that. You were watching Colin's fight then, and
I was just thinking about that guy's arm must have hurt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because obviously, as you see, like he kind of like took him backwards and like done an arm lock on him. And it's quite funny because he done an arm lock on him previous in the match, and the guy tapped quickly, and I actually knew he was going to do that. I do. I want to work with. I just want to work with kids that I wouldn't say have problems. I'd say have ADHD, just a little bit like myself when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? I like to think. I've got a little bit of it now, as Colin would know, but just to like create a little school or something, just for them to come into, and maybe little stepping stones for them after.
And Colin, great achievement now after some disappointment at the Olympics.
Yeah, I got interviewed a few times about the Olympics, and on the day I think I was happy because I beat someone that was ranked so highly in the world, and people didn't expect that. And then the disappointment of losing to the guy. I mean, he went on to win it, but I fought him a year later at the World Championships and beat him then. So.
We say congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Well
done.
Thank you. Carol's just going to come in and say goodbye.
Got a team hug, eh?
Thank you for your work this morning, Carol.
Congratulations.
And the programme back there for 6 o'clock here in Glasgow tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Enjoy.
9:51 is the time now. They were the soundtrack of the 90s. At one point, it was claimed songs by the beautiful South were played in 1 in 7 UK households.
Songs like this? Give you some time to recover from the shock of seeing that. They're going to tell us all about this new album. Have a listen to this. It's I Gotta Praise from Crooked Calypso. The fashion was quite experimental.
Same, but, you know, you have to move on, but curiously, you both moved on your own ways, and then lo and behold, you've come back together again. Just take us, Paul, take us through the story of you know, won't dwell on why you stopped working together so much, but more about why you came back together.
The reunification.
Because you're not quite sure what it's about and what it will lead to. What did you think about it?
I think I just thought, because I'd not known, like, sort of, or had conversations with anyone really, and especially not yourself, from the one in Salford, and it was a long time, so it was lovely just sort of, he was with all the people that he knows now, and so but me and him just sat there.
Really instantly latch onto you. Did that automatically kind of kick back in?
Jackie's new album is called Crooked Calypso. They're also going on a UK and Ireland tour from October. Good luck with it.
Thank you so much.
Breakfast back tomorrow at 6.
Have a lovely day.
He's described himself as an ancient god, shares his name with a Latino pop star, and has worn hot pants in the wrestling ring. Last night, though, Ricky Martin...
First, though, let's take a look at the moment when he heard he was about to become Lord Sugar's new business partner.
Oh, Ricky, congratulations.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
I've always wondered what is running through people's minds when they are sitting there. I mean, you can generally tell if you're about to be fired, you know, thinking, here comes the bullet, here comes the bullet. But this time you're thinking, trying to...
Made just a short while ago, and obviously we've all seen it on this weekend, last night, in fact. And have you started to, because obviously the relationship you had with him there is very, time goes on, what are you expecting your relationship to be like?
Well, I see this as a partnership. It's exactly what we...
Get to have a space to just enjoy the festive season at peace, almost, isn't it?
Absolutely. Let's see, time now is 9:51. Meghan Markle has had a taste of her future royal life, joining her fiancé, Prince Harry, on their first official public engagement in Nottingham. You'll have seen those pictures yesterday.
Yeah, they're across all the front pages for a start. Well, crowds lined the streets to see the couple visiting a charity fair hosted by the Terence Higgins Trust to mark World AIDS Day.
Royal commentator James Brooks.
Versions on the rest of the royal family, but there is great excitement about this couple in terms of how they changed the image of the royal family. And both of you, I think, will be able to comment. You have a young son, 12 years old, I think. You're obviously with the website and seeing it grow and seeing people's interest. How are
As everyone knows, and obviously and logically, there will be a change in the dynamic of the royal family and the roles that people do. However that plays out, that will happen in the next few years. We're talking about a period of, year, 5 years, but there will be big changes, won't there?
Yeah.
As a last thought, I mean, obviously a great day for you and your son personally, but tangible difference for the campaigning groups when the royal couple has a part to play. Very your experiences. Thank you both very much.
Thank you for joining us this morning. That's it from us. Lots of sport going on. Let's hope England does well in the rugby.
Breakfast, of course, back tomorrow from 6 in the morning. Bye-bye.
Bye. Carol, thanks very much.
It's 6 minutes to 9. Would you take health advice from your hairdresser or lifestyle tips from a barman? It might sound far-fetched, but a report today says we can't just rely on NHS staff to look after the health of the nation.
Instead, the Royal Society for Public Health is calling on workers from a range of sectors, including librarians, cleaners, bar staff, firefighters, to spread public health messages in the hope that that could keep some people out of GP surgeries and hospitals.
As Breakfast, Jane McCubbin now reports. Well, with us now is Kieran Kurth from the Royal Society of Public Health, and it's the Royal Society, of course, who've had this idea. Is it the notion then that your barber, hairdresser, bar staff will offer some sort of gentle counselling, push you in the right direction if you happen to mention a health issue that you have? I mean, it's slightly woolly as to what they're expected to do.
Or perhaps you have a skin blemish or a health issue. I mean, what makes your hairdresser or barber or bar worker qualified to diagnose or recognise something that could be seriously wrong with you, which perhaps... Welcome back. A new show hopes to do for pottery what the Bake Off did for pastries. The search is now on for the country's best budding potter in the Great British Pottery Throwdown.
Yes, the contestants will be tasked with transforming slabs of clay into glorious glazed objects under the watchful eye of the judges. Keith Brymer-Jones, the big lump of clay from which it all starts.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Shall we see first how people get on in the opening episode? Let's vote it now. See, the thing is, pottery, we always think of it as, welcome, by the way, properly. We always think about it being such an elegant process, but it's stressful. It is stressful, isn't it?
No, is it stressful?
For those people who are competing,
Emotional.
It was emotional, wasn't it?
Oh, I get incredibly emotional. Yes, indeed I do. Yes.
At 9 p.m, BBC 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. That's it from us today. We'll be back tomorrow from 6. Have a lovely day. This is Breakfast with Ben Thompson and Naga Munchetty.
The battle lines on Europe are firmly drawn within the cabinet. Good morning, it's Sunday the 21st of February.
Also, to our political correspondent Ian Watson, who's at Downing Street for us. Morning, Ian. So, we're going to hear from David Cameron in a couple of hours on the Marsh Show, but also the debate still about whether Boris Johnson, or which side Boris Johnson is going to fall on. Play out, isn't it? Ian, many thanks.
Now, in a few minutes, we'll speak to a member of the government who has made up his mind on the EU debate. That's the Housing Minister, Brandon Lewis. We'll speak to him at 7:10.
Other news to bring you. Police in America say 5 people have been killed in a series of apparently random shootings. It happened in the Michigan town of Kalamazoo. News cycle and familiarity with television as well, and playing to those strengths. I mean, we were following the spat, or the so-called spat he had with the Pope, yet that doesn't seem to have damaged him. Republican commentator talking to us. Thank you very much.
It is 22 minutes past 7. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. Time for a look at...
Front page of the Sunday Express. Only in terms of this. EU is stuck in...
As it is in terms of remaining in the common market, as it was then termed. Well, £7 million on trying to persuade you and I to vote to leave the European Union. That it's business as usual in terms of access to benefits for EU migrants coming to this country.
EU referendum that they're going to throw out, that will be very useful for me. Thank you.
Very useful for all of us. Yeah, stay tuned for that. But the Andrew Marr Show is on BBC One this morning at 9 o'clock. Andrew, good morning.
6.56 seconds it took for the 60 metres to be won. You set me a challenge, Naga,
yes.
to find the sport that takes the longest and the shortest.
Yeah,
I'm afraid I've failed so far.
13 minutes to 8, you're watching Breakfast from BBC News. Here are the main stories. This morning, a big moment, 4 months to go. This is a big moment with a seemingly short amount of time. Him managing the Conservative Party and not going out too far on a limb. He's also having to have set up new alliances, cross-party alliances. This is quite unusual as well. For your time with us this morning on BBC Breakfast. Thank you.
Now, teeth whitening is one of the most popular cosmetic treatments in the UK. The law says that only people who are qualified in the dental industry can carry it out.
A BBC investigation, though, has found that many places are offering it without being qualified, as Alistair